time. However, marrying my high school sweetheart did not work out for me. So it left me in a place where I had to decide what I had to do on my own for me and my family. So the stance of marriage is not, it wasn't beneficial for me when it came to actually supporting my family. However, I went through programs while I was on, I didn't really receive housing because I lived in my grandmother's home rent-free. My family had property. But I did take advantage of the EBT card to feed my family while I was in college. And I was on that for about 5 years. And from there, I know the experience of having made a bad choice and having to actually recuperate from that choice. So I guess I'm here as a atonement to say that you can correct those issues.
Exactly. The reason I wanted Janine to tell her story is because she is a success story. She took, you see, I believe that if we duplicate her over and over again, and I thank her for doing that. She's doing what she can to duplicate herself, because you can't go back and erase the past. If you make a mistake, it's made. But what you have to do from that point on is do something. And I see she has her boss here, the housing authority, the chief here with her. And one of the tenants is here. And what they are trying to do is create Janine, make success stories, and then Kia and Vonnie, and then Tony and myself. All of us have seen our own difficulties in life. But what we have been empowered to do is take the difficulty that we have had in life and turn it into a success story. You young people are going to be the same way. You young people are going to run into your roadblocks. But what we're here to do is let you know that you don't have to stay down because you get knocked down. To empower yourself in America. And folks, that's where we are. We are American. Yes, we're black Americans for sure. We all have the same common heritage in this country, most likely for sure. Slave history. But we can't continue to live in grandma's reality or grandpa's reality. We have to live in our reality. And young people, I want you to know this, and I want you to believe this, that in 2015 America, and President Obama is proof of this, there's not one thing that the color of your skin will stop you from doing if you want to do it in 2015 America. Difficulties? Yes, absolutely. But someone stopping you? I remember black and white water fountains. I have ridden on the back of the bus. I remember Negro Day at the State Fair in Louisiana. None of you young people today will ever have those experiences as long as I'm alive. You'll never experience that. So the question has to be, if you are not empowered, if you are not taking the advantage of the opportunities like this panel has taken, the question has to be why? What is holding you back? And those are the questions that we want to hear from you. Is there anything that's holding you back? And is that question in your mind, because I'm black, I'm being held back? I want to know why you may think that way, if you think that way, and why you don't think that way if you don't. Anybody?
All right, fantastic. Great answers. Now, for the audience, you've heard quite a bit. Now, I want to get an idea of what you heard. I heard marriage, and in my studies, I realized that marriage will reduce poverty by 85%. And the number one weapon against poverty, to help fight poverty, is marriage. The other thing I heard was employment. having a job. So, 2 action items I'm looking at that I'd like to work on when I talked about the earned income tax credit. Should we go to our elected officials and reform the earned income tax credit so that low-income families are not penalized if they get money? Is that an action item we can take forward?
Well, I think that the welfare system has to be reformed, and I commend the young ladies about their independence, but some ladies end up in the welfare system not by their own accord. Yes. And the welfare system has been traditionally dismantling of black families, but to penalize a young mother on welfare by 20%, I don't think it's right. We can correct these issues down the line in education or whatever, but for right now, we have to.
I had my first child when I was 15 years old. Like he said, no father grew up in the house, but then my mother met a guy, but he was a little too late because I always was pregnant. But he was a good dad the rest of the way. He was a good grandfather. But through that, I graduated high school on time. I was an honor student through high school, and I graduated high school when my daughter was 3 years old. I walked across the stage and received my diploma and handed it to my daughter because that's who I did it for. Because I believe I couldn't ask my children to do something that I didn't. I've been in the program 7 years, like I said. As I've been in the program, if you look at my file, I've always bettered myself. I went back to college. I got an associate's degree in human services and family intervention. Got an associate's degree, couldn't find a job. Went back, paid $800 out of pocket. I got a trade because, like her, I grew up on Jones Island. My grandfather told me a man with a trade will never go hungry. So I went and got a trade. So I'm a hospice aide and I'm a CNA. I have 2 jobs. I work for hospital during the week, and on the weekend, I work 2 12-hour shifts at a rehabilitation center. So I don't think that welfare is like, to some it's a crutch, but also I don't feel like the program offers what it needs to offer. Like they put people in work keys class. The job they get, because they don't have degrees and stuff, they may have a high school and they work keys, but the entry level position that they give them is still just enough to give them just enough to manage, just enough to function. But they make them sit in class for 8 hours a day to get the check. I'm not doing that, scratch that. You know, scratch that. I'm not doing it. 8 hours of my time and I still can't step out of here when I'm done with this class and be self-sufficient. I'd rather work 80 to 90 hours a week and my feet hurt and I got muscle spasms and I just got out of physical therapy. The old people killing me. You see what I'm saying? But what they're giving us is just, that's the cycle. We get in the system looking for help, but we're looking for help to be better people, better human beings, better citizens. The system takes us in the system, and if you're not smart enough to know that they're just going to give you another life, you're drowning, but they don't give you a whole life raft, they just throw the string. And if you ain't too fat, you can float on the string. That's what they do. You see what I'm saying? That's what they do to us. And people that don't really know our struggle, where our walk of life came. I came from a broken home, but my mother was the same way. She had me as a teenager. She had me her senior year of high school. My mother had a bachelor's in culinary arts. So I saw a woman that started young and sort of went back and got her life together. You see what I'm saying? For her kids, but everything came in reverse. And now that we're doing it this way, I look back and I show my children, you know, hey, I did it this way and it was kind of rough. It was really hard. So I have an 18-year-old daughter and I constantly tell her, do it the right way, because if I could turn back the hands of time, I would still love to have my kids because of the best thing I ever did. Might not be the best people I did it with. The best thing I have right now. But I would still want my kids, but I would want my kids in the order of school, career, marriage, husband, stability, financial stability, then family. Because that's the way it should go. But when you're born, you don't know what God has in your path. You just fit in that spot and you get on, you fit in. But He knows our path. I mean, the last will be the first. You know, the tail will be the head.
All
The
right.
borrower will be the lender. So it is possible.
So it sounds like what you're saying is these programs give you just enough
Just enough.
to keep you where you are, not to succeed.
I'm not gonna say to keep you where you are and give you just enough to make you feel a little bit better about the day before. But it ain't enough to make you feel better about the rest
Back
of your
in
life.
line. Panel member. And Lieutenant Coleman. Anthony Coleman and Janine Mazin.
Okay. So I appreciate your comment, and I think that the issue is dynamically complex. I think you have a high amount of validity in what you're saying. I think that they do give you just enough to get by, and that's a problem. I just would like for us to focus on what we can do as parents to make sure that our children don't find themselves in that situation. So, like you, my mother I have a sister, and I'm the youngest. I have an older brother and an older sister. My mother had my sister when she was 15. My grandmother had my mother when she was 15. My mother didn't graduate high school because she had a daughter. She went back and got her GED, but she still gave us everything that she had. And when my mother couldn't give me anymore, she turned me over to the Navy and prayed that they would do the rest of the job. So I took what she could give me, which was all that she had, and expanded on that. And just like you, decided that for my daughter, you know, when I sat at NUSC in this master's program, I didn't think I was smart enough to finish it. And I looked around and I looked at all the people. I saw folks driving up in their BMWs, and we're all sitting in class, and it dawned on me, we're all in the same place at the same time, but we had some very different paths to get here. And at that moment, I decided that my daughter she would get there, but she wouldn't get there the hard way, the way that I did, because I was married, divorced, single parent, at sea, having to fly my daughter to live with my mother while my ship went out to sea. All of these things that hindsight is 20/20, you know, I should have done it a different way. Just like you, I wouldn't trade my daughter for anything, or my experiences. But if I had to do over again, I would do it a different way. And so as parents, we have to take what we learn and we have to teach our children so that they don't go through what we went through.
I'm glad you said that because I do agree. I work with Ms. Davis and many others who all have that same type of drive and determination. However, I do see that there is an issue. It seems that the drive and determination and the know-how, it comes after the fact. Like he said, hindsight is 20/20. However, we can actually combat some of that if we were to actually teach our children how to go about doing it the correct way. It is really hard to climb 30 flights of stairs, but when you have extra baggage, it's way harder and it slows you down. My issue is to find out how we can actually break the cycle. So it won't have to be so hard. I work in the community with a lot of nonprofit organizations, and we've come up with kind of like a solution to bring an awareness to what is going on. It's called the Anti-Poverty Pledge. And it lists what we call the 5 major causes of poverty, and we've researched it to find out what they are and how to avoid them. And they're really simple. Here we have most common variants that low-income families have is, out of these 5, they usually have 2 characteristics, okay? And it's that they're single parents, they lack high school diplomas or job skills, they lack career planning, which is really important. During and after high school graduation, because that leads to low wage paying jobs. They lacked financial literacy skills, which means that they did not know how to build assets. It was the way that they were spending the money that they were receiving. That's what they needed training on, which also led to low credit scores, which gave them an advantage with predatory lenders. And then it was that they performed delinquent acts that led to either arrest, restitution, or prison time. If we can get our children to see that, then we can actually start breaking the cycles. If we can get those characteristics to go away, or to lessen in our community, maybe we can benefit by seeing progress where we won't have to have so much of a struggle in our community.
Very good. Very good. Either one of you ladies?
I just wanted to add, it's important. I know that with low income, I used to work with Charleston, was on the board with the Charleston area CDC. So we help low income families to actually qualify for loans where they took a series of classes to help them to learn just basic literacy, financial literacy, how to balance your checkbook, how to, how to set a goal. That's something that's so basic, but if they can just set a financial goal, set, like you said, a career goal, and then also education is so powerful. Just like for you, it took education to get you out of the cycle, and so to break it, to be in a position to actually be able to be employed somewhere that is going to allow you to, like you said, to have more than just enough. Because 8 hours in a class and just to have barely enough to get over, it's just not enough. So a lot of times with education, I think that's something that a lot of times with parents, they may not have that because we said they don't have the GED and things like that. My grandmother raised me after my mother passed, and although my mother was a nurse's aide or things of that nature, she went to college. My grandmother didn't know what to give me because she didn't go to college. It was based upon people in my community that helped me to say, yeah, you need to go to college. That was something that they instilled in me. For me, it was like my grandmother was just excited that I was graduating from high school. But being able to get a good career, you have to have some kind of education behind you. Whether that education comes from like an institution or a trade school, I think it's something that is so important because even after you graduate, like you said, when I decided to go off and apply for jobs, the job is going to only pay you what the job is going to pay you. Even if I have more skills and know more than whoever is over me, it's going to only pay you what that job is going to pay you. But you definitely, like you said, definitely need the basic financial literacy, because that is so important. Because people sign contracts every day, and they do not know. They don't even know what they're signing. And it's sad. So I think that that's so important, especially in low-income families.
Ken? So there is a better message that these ladies and gentlemen are presenting to you. And young lady, please don't get away before it's. In fact, Kathy Sue, if you would please get her contact information, because I see an incredible success story brewing there. Hard-working young woman, and you should be admired for that.